There are 5 big factors that determine response to any campaign. And the first, of course, is the relationship that you have. So raving fan customers versus a prospect, you're always going to get a higher response from raving fan customers. Interest in the topic. They got to be interested. So how to add $1 million in sales is going to be more interesting to a lot of people, you versus cybersecurity news. You know, so you got to understand, like when you're trying to talk to your customers about cybersecurity news, that is what you love. That's what, you know, makes you excited and interested. But is that what your business owner clients are interested in? And like Adam Spencer and I, where did Adam go? There you are. Okay, sorry. The lights are like sun tanning my retinas right now. So like Adam and I talked after he won the competition, Better Your Best, and he said, well, how do I use this with my existing customers? I said, you know, you should just teach them like you teach all the people here. How do you build a list? How do you communicate? Like, teach them marketing. And he's like, he didn't thought about it that way. I said, well, that's going to be more interesting to a small business owner than the fact that, you know, you want a car, right? You know, and that's great. But winning the car in the competition is evidence that you know what the hell you're talking about. So it's not irrelevant, but that's not what the webinar or the blog should be about. It should be about, I told him to really double down on is the systems and processes, because he knows his numbers, he knows systems and processes really, really well. And whatever you do in marketing can apply to pretty much anything in business, right? I mean, yesterday when we were talking about the sales training, Tim, wasn't you that said, you know, hey, in my mind, I just relate it to what I'm doing over here on operations and, oh, it clicks. So, you know, when you're talking to your list, it doesn't have to necessarily be about the technical stuff that you do. And in fact, I would argue that the conversation should be elevated above that. Because if all you talk to your customers about is the tactical, technical stuff that you do, you are not building a relationship. You are not a thought leader. I hate that term, but you're not a thought leader. You're a tech, you're a vendor. The conversation has to be about something bigger. You know, if you caught it on the panel yesterday, we had a great panel of titans of our industry, large MSPs, and we were talking about recruiting salespeople and who makes really good salespeople. And I think it was Anthony was the one that said, but they all agreed, is they said, you know, you want to find somebody who is able to have a C-level discussion with a prospect, not a technical one. Because if I take a technical-oriented salesperson or an engineer and I put them in front of a board of a CEO, CFO of a big company, they're going to want to shuffle that guy out the door as quick as possible, because that's not what they're interested in. That's not what they want to talk about. They want to talk about things like growth and risk and cost control and how to save on taxes, how to make your employees more productive. So your conversations have to be about that. Yeah, you do the technical stuff to make that happen, but the conversation has to be about something bigger, something they're more interested in, all right? Because here's another thing that you guys know I talk about a lot, and I want to drive this home. Selling is a lot about authority and perceived power, okay? It's about authority and perceived power. And when you are perceived as a sales rep, you have very little authority and you have very little power, because the universe out there feels like it's perfectly acceptable to be rude and dismissive and to lie to a salesperson. Now, if you are sitting in front of somebody who is an authority on their subject matter, somebody who is seen as a powerful person, let's say, and he or she tells you something, you are far more likely to just take the advice than if it's a sales guy telling you. Does that resonate with all of you? Understand? That's why I'm always saying everything we're doing is trying to put you in a position of power and authority so you get to prescribe instead of prospect. Because, what we're talking about here on a bigger level is the general communication you are putting out into the marketplace, because with your customers, with your prospects, to your farm list, because you are either positioning yourself as an engineer tech or a salesperson, or worst of all, a salesperson selling technical stuff. That's like the double whammy, right? Or you are putting yourself in a position of a powerful person who is an authority on your subject, who is credible, and that's where you want to reside, okay? So interest in the topic is a big thing. The message, so are you coming to the party versus new blog post, okay? That factors into response, which kind of ties to interest in the topic. The offer, something that's free versus paid, or difficulty of consumption. So for example, if I'm promoting out, hey, download this free checklist, this sales hiring checklist, I'm going to get a higher response than, say, come into a 3-day event where I'm going to show you how to hire salespeople. So, the offer and the difficulty of, that's going to impact response. Recency of engagement. New customers and subscribers to your list are always going to be more responsive than those who haven't bought in a while. Pretty much, if you look at engagement, people get very engaged and then it drops off. And that's in my list, that's in most people's list. And what I'm trying to do, what you want to do, is when they're first interested, to grab their attention and hold their attention for a very long time. And that is extremely difficult to do. Okay, so 2 quick fixes and 1 big initiative to get all this done. Okay, so the first quick fix is just communicate more frequently. Like I was telling you about the accelerators member who got shut down out of ConnectWise. You need to be emailing your list more frequently. I did a poll through MSP Success Magazine, and 58% of MSPs are not doing any email marketing or doing it so inconsistently they're not getting any traction. 58%. Now that's not this room, because this was MSP Success Magazine, 45,000 subscribers, and we're talking the general boobus America out there, right? Not you guys, because you're smarter than that. But I'm just pointing it out, okay? You want to have more frequency of communication, and the minimum is emailing at least once a week with content or some promotion, like a QBRs. That's an addition, okay? But once a week with content would be ideal. Social posts 3 times a week on all platforms, that's the minimum. Website, 2 blogs a month. And 2 blogs a month, the cool thing is you email your list to go look at the blog, and you kind of kill, 2 birds with 1 stone. Direct mail, I would say at least 1 per month with your clients and unconverted leads. Postcard, newsletter, magazine, and include your farm list if your budget will allow. But definitely customers and unconverted, qualified MQLs, qualified unconverted leads. And if possible, webinars monthly or quarterly is better than none, but do a webinar once a quarter. Today, we're going to be talking a lot about webinars. We're going to show you how to market them. Dave's got a really cool talk that he's going to give you, as we promised at boot camp, to give you sort of a quarterly webinar template that you can use. So we're going to give you that. And new videos posted on YouTube once per week is like kind of the bare bones minimum. And in-person meetings is another thing you ought to think about doing, maybe once or twice a year, where you do a client appreciation event, a book signing event, some sort of celebration event, right? That, hey, we're going to bring people in. Get your vendors in the hallway to pay for it. We have a great guide to MDF, Marketing Development Funds, and a lot of these in-person meetings and so forth, you can get vendors to give you the money to cover the cost. So do it, right? Wine and dine people, I mean, last night, for example, we had the panel up here, Paul Sissel, Pete Peterson, I had Rob Stevenson, Anthony DeGraw, and these are all very high-level entrepreneurs in our space, right? Now, Anthony knows about me, Pete knows about me, Pete's probably here somewhere, and Rob was there, and, so I took them all to Cane Prime, which is a really nice restaurant downtown, one of my favorites. We rented a private room, and I invited Joel Lambert to come in and talk with us, and they had a fantastic evening. We laughed, the stories that Joel told, it was just phenomenal. Now, I had no intention, there was no, if I could get these guys in, maybe I could pitch them on selling them some stuff. That was not my intention. But it is a way to, if you wanted to do that and do some sort of private exclusive dinner, that is a strategy you can use to get into higher level CEOs. I got the idea from Kevin Donahue. Kevin Donahue, a friend of mine through Joe Polish, he actually had Joel Lambert in that same restaurant with about 10 high-level CISOs. I mean, we're talking like the chief information security officer of Vanderbilt Hospital. like those kinds of level. And he had Joel come in and gave him a bunch of drinks and had Joel tell his stories. They had a great time. That is relationship building, like nobody's business. So those are the kind of things you want to think about at a minimum to do. That's what, as far as communication. Now, quick fix number 2 is just use multimedia, because as I showed you, we have a bunch of toolkit customers that bought back in 2003 or 2004, and they're unsubscribed. I mean, they're not. I have to. We keep on them, like we keep trying to reactivate them. So the only way I can communicate with them is direct mail. Or I can call them, I can follow them on Facebook, like do retargeting. We go to events and show up there. So just to, I'm not going to get into this too much, but I will tell you, anytime you're doing a campaign, if you add a second, a third, or fourth media, so instead of just email, you do email and a phone call. Instead of just email and a phone call, you do email, phone call, direct mail piece. Anytime you add media on, it will lift the entire response of the campaign. Now, I can't say by 3 times. I mean, it's not as exacting as that, but it will do that. So I just saw this the other day, Optimov's study of over 10,000 campaigns, multi-channel campaigns are 37% more effective. So an example, if they just do SMS messaging, they get 8%, email 8%, push, like a push notification in an app, 2%. When they add them together, you can see that when we do email and SMS, we don't get 8%, we get 15%, right? When we do email and push, it's 14%. So they're 37% more effective. So when you're doing marketing communication to your list, don't just do email. That's the end of the story there, okay? Now, not so quick fix number 3 is publish content that doesn't suck, okay? And this is the hard part, okay? So how many of you read Seth Godin's Permission Marketing? Really? Nobody? A few, like it came out in like 1999, right? And it was way ahead of his time. And Seth basically said the bottom line is selling to people who actually want to hear from you is more effective than interrupting strangers who don't, okay? And what he's basically saying is you want to design your marketing so that people want to hear from you rather than push it on them. Now, here's the thing, and he's all against, he says most advertising and marketing is constantly interrupting people to try and sell them something, right? So the concept, you should reread it. I actually quickly skimmed it again when I was getting ready for this presentation. And there's some flaws in Seth Godin's formula, like he says, you shouldn't do interruption marketing, but then how do you get someone to know that you're there, right? You have to interrupt them at least once to get them to, but his concept of attraction where they are looking forward to the email is really the key thing. So like, for example, really silly little thing, but there's I have a house, as you guys know, in 30A, Florida on the Panhandle, and I love to look at real estate down there. So I'm always kind of got my eye on a couple things. So there is an email that I'm subscribed to that every time a new house with certain criteria comes on the market, there's an email. I open that email every single time, right? Because I'm looking for it. I'm interested in that topic. And it's not even content, just that's me. I'm just interested in that topic. So the question is, what is the content you can put out that would get the majority? You're never going to get 100%. But the majority of people will want to open, will want to watch, will want to subscribe to, will want to join your webinar, etc.